back to my channel. This is Heidi from My Reading Life, and I'm here to start my second vlog for Nonfiction November. And before I get into the bookish content, well, this is bookish content too, let's not lie. Everything in my life relates to books. I would like to hit a couple of admin things before we get started deep into what I'll be reading this weekend. So first of all, it's mid-month book bash. So I will be, trying to attempt to achieve a certain goal, which I'll speak about in a minute, but happy mid-month book bash. It is actually only Thursday. It is November 11th. So I'm starting a day early, and that's because I have today off from work and I have tomorrow off from work. So a 4-day weekend. So I figured I'd move my mid-month book bash to the 11th, through 12th, 13th, 14th. And because I'll be hopefully back to work on Monday. So yeah, that's what we're doing. We're just doing mid-month book bash Thursday through Sunday. Secondly, I would like to encourage everybody who's been thinking about it and been on the fence to join us in judging the BookTube prize in 2022. Now, Robert over at Barter Hordes has put out a call for judges for next year's BookTube prize, and we are still shy of a few judges that we need in order to have a third category next year, which is so exciting. So the last 2 years we've done fiction and nonfiction as our two main categories, and in 2022 we'd like to add a translated category. But in order to do that, of course, we need more people to be involved. And so I would like to encourage anybody watching this video that has even had the slightest thought about joining and judging the BookTube prize to please do so. I will leave a link down below in the description where you can go and sign up. Now, signing up for being a judge does not mean that you commit to judging every round next year. It just means that you're interested in judging, and before every round, there are 4 rounds, before every round you'll get an email and it will ask you to basically opt in. So you can judge one round or you can judge all 4 rounds. It's entirely up to you, and it is so much fun. It has really broadened the scope of my reading life so much, and I love it. And I would highly encourage all of you, anybody watching this video is eligible to join in. So if you have been engaged in the BookTube community in any way, if you're on Bookstagram, if you do TikTok, if you do Twitter, whatever you do for your social media, if you can promote books somehow, you can sign up and be a part of the BookTube prize. It is so much fun. So please do sign up today. The second piece of admin that I'd like to talk about is, or maybe this is the third piece, I've lost count already, is a COVID update. So sadly, I have to report that my husband is positive for COVID. He tested positive on Monday. It's now Thursday. So we are in quarantine. He will be out of work until the 17th of November. And I am in quarantine with him, although separate but not apart. And I will test again this weekend. I've already tested once and been negative. I will have to test again on Sunday. If I am negative again, then I will be good to go. If I am positive, well, then my quarantine will start. So we shall see how that goes. He is doing well. The major symptom that he has is loss of taste, which is what prompted us to send him for a COVID test in the first place. He does have mild cold symptoms and fatigue, general fatigue, but he's doing very well, and we feel very lucky. Of course, both of us were vaccinated, so the vaccine's doing its job and keeping the illness mild. So we're very, very thankful for that, of course. So I would just, again, encourage everybody who is not vaccinated to please do go get vaccinated, because nobody wants to wind up in the hospital with COVID. So yeah, that's where we're at. So quarantine life is not fun for anyone, even though, what was I going to do anyway? Sitting in my house and read over the long weekend. So, it doesn't change my life that much as far as activity level goes. But it does change, our situation within the house itself physically. My husband is staying in our bedroom and using our normal bathroom in the downstairs portion of the house. And I am, although I'm in the downstairs portion right now, I am sleeping upstairs in the guest bedroom and using the guest bath. My office is also upstairs, so I can sort of be contained up there because I'm working from home still, obviously, although I am off this weekend, which is great. He is out of the house right now, so I can be down here doing my thing. So that's where we're at with the old COVID update. I will keep you posted throughout the weekend if anything does change. So now let's get on to the books. So for mid-month book bash, my goal is to complete 4 books over the course of 4 days. 2 of the books I've already started, so hopefully I can finish those. And then I have at least 2 more books I'd like to finish over the weekend. But I have 6 books here, plus 2 more that are electronic to talk about that are on my sort of TBR for the weekend. So first of all, I would like to finish Eleanor Roosevelt's My Day. This is volume 1, her collected columns from 1936 to 1945. This I had started in the last vlog. I have 100 pages left to go of this. Really enjoying it, and also blown away by how relevant it is to our time right now. I will also be working on and plan to finish, because I have to check in with Britta this weekend. This is a buddy read with Britta Bowler of Atlas of Poetic Zoology by Emmanuelle. Pouydebat. That's probably not right. Translated by Eric Butler from the French. So this I've shown many times on this channel because of the gorgeous full page illustrations that accompany the text about each animal. So these are short essays describing wondrous animals, and then a beautiful full color illustration to accompany each of those short essays. And it is delightful. I've read the first 30 pages of this, and it's just so gorgeous. The first one was about elephants, which, elephants are just amazing. This is let me see if I can pronounce it, pangolin, which is like a scaled hedgehog type thing. Just amazing critter. And then see if you can pick out the bug here. Can you see it? Right here. That is the orchid mantis, the insect that thinks it's a flower. And I mean, how gorgeous are these illustrations? So I could spend the whole day just sitting here showing you pictures in this book, but that's not the purpose of this video. So yes, I will be completing this weekend. The other 2 books that I would like to finish this weekend are volume 2 and 3 of the graphic novel Heartstopper. This is not for Nonfiction November. These are books that I got from my library before I went into quarantine. I had requested copies of these from my library sometime last summer, and they did not have them, but they were willing to purchase them. And so I had sort of thought that they had forgotten me because it took so long. But I got a call, not this week, but week before, from my librarian saying, "Oh, Heidi, those books that you requested a long time ago, we finally were able to get." So I'm very excited to read those this weekend. And my librarian told me that the reason why it took so long was supply chain issues. The books were out of stock where they get their books from, and they had to wait for them to come back into stock, and it was all due to supply chain shortages. So yeah, even your library will be impacted by the supply chain issues that are plaguing all of us this year. I will also be working on the Best American Science and Nature Writing of 2020. I am 85 pages into this one, collection of journal articles and pieces that were published in other periodicals and collected into this book. So good so far. Really enjoying dipping in and out of that. I have also started If Then by Jill Lepore, and I am 38 pages into this one, and Jill Lepore just, even 38 pages in, I'm just convinced that Jill Lepore is such a master of writing historical nonfiction or history nonfiction, because she can take a topic that I am not particularly interested in, which is development of computer analytics, and how that was first used back in the World War II, post-World War II time period, and into today, and make it so compelling. Like this book starts off with a bang. It's very interesting. So excited to continue on with that. I will also be working on an ebook that I'm buddy reading with Sean the Book Maniac. That's Half Breed by Maria Campbell. That is my Indigitathon read, and also a nonfiction memoir about the author's life as a Métis, an Indigenous person in Canada. And then I am also listening to Kushiel's Chosen by Jacqueline Carey, which is a fantasy novel. That's my audiobook, and I started that actually last month. It's huge. It's like 20 some hours long, so it's going to take me a while. And I may listen to that. I have a puzzle out to work on this weekend, so I'll probably listen to my audiobook while I'm puzzling. So yeah, that's my plans for the weekend. That is lots to read, but I don't have anything else to do. I'm not going to be doing anything else really besides my puzzle and some housework and yeah, reading. So I will bring you along for the ride. Well, I finished book 1 for the weekend, the mid-month book bash. I finished volume 2, Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. This is such a just charming and adorable read. It took me about an hour to read it. It's a graphic novel. And it tells the story of the relationship between these two boys, Charlie and Nick. And I can't really talk about it because I don't want to spoil volume 1 for you if you haven't read it. But if you are looking for just a lovely, delightful YA read that's super romantic and just heartwarming and just all the feels. I mean, I cried. It was just so lovely. So yeah, yay. I mean, this is such a huggable book. I could hug this book right now. So definitely, if you have not yet tried Heartstopper by Volume 1, Heartstopper Volume 1 by Alice Oseman, please do give it a try. It is just a lovely, lovely read, and I can't recommend it enough. It's Friday morning, November 12th, and I finished another book this morning. Before I got out of bed, I finished up Eleanor Roosevelt's My Day, her acclaimed columns from 1936 to 1945. And this was edited and put together by, let me see if I can find the lady's name, because I've not mentioned her name. So this was edited by Rochelle Chudikoff, and it has an introduction by Martha Gellhorn. And as I said, it is just excerpts from her columns. It isn't her columns in her entirety, and there are little sections that the editor wrote to contextualize the columns that they did choose to include in here. And I really enjoyed sort of picking this up, reading through some of the columns, and then putting it back down. I think it is probably best read that way rather than straight through from, sit down big chunks of time kind of thing, because it could get kind of samey, I think, if you did it that way. But so these were the columns she wrote during the end of the Great Depression and then the war years, World War II. And I mean, this woman is she's just incredible. The amount of traveling that she did, all the while maintaining this column that she wrote 6 days a week. This is just amazing. So I just wanted to read you a couple of little sections. So this is a column, I don't remember what year this was, but it was during the war, I think 1942, in April. She wrote this about the government had asked housewives to save fat to be used in making explosives, basically, and gunpowder and stuff like that. So it says, the Japanese occupation of the Far East has cut off much of our imports of oils and fats. However, our need and the needs of our allies have increased, and the place where we must meet them is in our own kitchens. We should get a minimum of 200 million pounds annually. The continental U.S. Army camps are salvaging about 60 million pounds of waste fat a year. The Navy reports another 11,400,000, but so far, our household fat salvage collections are only running at the rate of 90 million pounds a year. A recent consumer study made by the Office of War Information reveals the astounding fact that 9 out of 10 women know that the country has a fat salvage program, but only 6 out of 10 are saving their kitchen fat. Only 3 out of 10 have turned over any of these fats to be made into glycerine. And I just want to ask you, only 6 out of 10 women were saving their kitchen fat? I think that's really good like a really good rate of people participating, but that was not good enough for Eleanor Roosevelt. 100% participation is what she was looking for. And then, so during the war, Eleanor traveled around. She went all over the world representing the president and also just visiting the servicemen and women, because all 4 of her sons served in the war effort. And so she was very much, interested in boosting the morale of the troops and showing her support. So she did a Pacific tour. This was in, what year was this one in? This was closer to the end of the war. She traveled all around the Pacific and visited military bases all around the Pacific. So it says, this is the contextualized portion of one of her columns. After talking to almost about 400,000 men during her 5-week visit to 17 islands in the Pacific, she brought back 4 fat notebooks filled with the names and addresses of mothers and girlfriends. Welcoming the First Lady back home, Time noted that reporters found her thin. They missed her usual warm-hearted gusto. Lines of weariness were traced on her face, netting her friendly blue eyes that had seen much, perhaps too much, for one who, along with several other distinctions, is a mother with 4 sons in uniform. Mrs. Roosevelt later agreed. The Pacific trip, she said, left a mark from which I will never be free. I mean, she just was indomitable. That's all I can say. And she also did not toot her own horn. Towards the end of this book, in 1944, she wrote a column in February that says, I sometimes wonder how the people who are so impressed by my energy can fail to realize that any woman with a family who does all of her own work is doing in the course of a day twice as much as I ever think of doing. Just getting the meals and cleaning the house and doing the laundry, not to speak of taking care of several children who in winter are bound to have the ailments that come the way of all children, will fill up more time and demand a more active life than I live at any time. She just was something else. Now, she also, she wasn't perfect and she was of her time. So she did have, she was always very supportive of equality among the races, and she was not supportive necessarily of specifically feminism, because she felt everybody needed to be equal before you could worry about women sort of the issues that feminists were talking about at that time. She was more concerned with equality amongst everyone, making sure that everybody had appropriate housing, appropriate jobs, enough food to eat, enough medicine, all those sorts of things. So, you may quibble with some of her politics, but I think for her time, she was certainly very, very progressive. So I just admire the heck out of her. And considering what she went through in her personal life, the fact that the president had, affairs, the fact that when he died, when this book ends is right after FDR dies, and he was at at their place in Warm Springs because he had been ill, and after he dies, Eleanor finds out that his mistress was there with him when he died, and that her daughter had arranged for her to be there. And so what a betrayal. I mean, not only is your husband, when he dies is with his mistress, but also, your daughter made that happen. I mean, personally, I just think she went through a lot of stuff that people, certainly at that time they didn't know about, because that wasn't what people knew about their president, but we know it now. And so for me, that is just another thing to admire about Eleanor Roosevelt, is how she handled herself with her personal challenges that she had to overcome and live with. So yeah, highly recommend these collections of her newspaper columns, My Day. So that is 2 books down so far for the mid-month book bash. I think I will end this part of the vlog here and start a new vlog because I have a feeling that I've already talked a lot in the last 2 days, and so we should start anew.